Hey, good morning. It's Uncle Lou here. Yeah, that's right. It's me, Uncle Lou, live for you on LouTube today. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. If you're new around here, go ahead and subscribe. I post college football videos almost every single day of the year. It's Pac-12 week here on LouTube. If the Pac-12 is something you're interested in, give this video a thumbs up. We've already covered the Big 12 2 weeks ago. We did the, what did we do last week? ACC week last week, Pac-12 this week. I'm dedicating 1 week to each of the 5 major conferences, not doing predictions or season previews for teams or anything like that. These are more or less general storylines that pertain to a team or multiple teams within a conference, or just kind of like overarching themes relevant to each particular conference. My prediction and preview videos will come later in the summer. I usually do those the last half of July and first half of August. So Pac-12 week. This week, 5 days, 5 videos, all dedicated to the Pac-12. Let's do it.
I do videos about University of Miami. We're living in the past.
We're living in the past.
All right, now you got a few new coaches in the Pac-12 this year. Of course, Chip Kelly, UCLA, which we're going to talk about in this video here today. But you got new coaches at Oregon. Herm Edwards is now in the in the Pac-12. So you've got a handful of new coaches here in the Pac-12, and that always shakes things up a little bit. But the biggest name, I would say, that landed in the Pac-12 this offseason in terms of new coaching hires has to be Chip Kelly. Herm Edwards made sort of a splash, but for a different reason. But we're going to focus on Chip Kelly here today. And specifically, the question I want to try to answer today is, which will come first for UCLA and Chip Kelly? A Pac-12 title or probation? This is a serious question here. This is not trolling. When Chip Kelly left Oregon, of course, they got hit with some sanctions by the NCAA for some recruiting issues up there. I'm not going to get into all the details of what happened there. It had to do with a recruiting service out of Texas that Oregon and Chip Kelly had hired, paid $25,000. That recruiting service had ties to anyway, I'm not getting into it. But Oregon did get hit with some sanctions. They lost some scholarships. And Chip Kelly got slapped with an 18-month show cause order from the NCAA. If you don't know what that is, basically what that means is within an 18-month period after that announcement was made, any team in college football that wanted to hire Chip Kelly had to go in front of an NCAA panel and basically show cause why they want to hire Chip Kelly. Now, of course, that 18 months has come and gone. Chip Kelly spent that time in the NFL. This all happened back in 2013. Of course, what a coincidence, right around the time Chip Kelly left Oregon. In fact, it was the exact same time. Now, Chip Kelly has put statements out saying he was leaving Oregon regardless, but we've heard this song and dance before, most notably when it concerns the Pac-12 from Pete Carroll and Southern Cal back in the mid-2000s. Of course, he left Southern Cal for the Seahawks. Just in the nick of time for NCAA to come in and hit Southern Cal with something similar to what they did with Oregon. Actually, they got Southern Cal much worse than they did Oregon. Oregon got off a little bit easy. But anyway, so Chip Kelly, back from the NFL now, lands with the UCLA Bruins. Now, Chip Kelly was a hot commodity in the offseason. Lots of teams wanted him. Some SEC teams, Florida and Tennessee, were interested in Chip Kelly. He told both those teams thanks, but no thanks. Almost any team with an opening this past offseason, if they didn't interview Chip Kelly, they at least reached out to him in some way. He was one of the hottest names in as far as head coaches this offseason. Lands at UCLA. So which is going to come first, probation or a Pac-12 title? Well, we sort of talked about the probation issue. Now, has Chip Kelly learned his lesson? We'll find out. UCLA, not really a team that's known for bending the rules or anything like that. I can't remember a time when anyone's ever accused UCLA of cheating, particularly along the recruiting trail or recruiting lines, which is, of course, what got Chip Kelly in trouble at Oregon. So no history of that at UCLA. But again, you know, if a guy has done it once, you have to assume it's more likely that he'll do it again than a guy that's never done it before. So I would put the chances of UCLA under Chip Kelly landing on probation at some point over the next 4 or 5 years at somewhere around 50%. Now, that's the lowest percentage I would ever give a team who has a coach that's been caught before. So you jump on me if you want, tell me I'm just a hater or bashing UCLA or Chip Kelly or the Pac-12 or whatever, but I'm just telling you right now, any team that hires a coach that has been caught cheating before, the lowest percentage I would give that new team of getting caught cheating in the future would be 50%. Okay, so it's not like I'm saying I'm convinced of the fact that Chip Kelly is going to cheat at UCLA and get caught and get in trouble and sanctions and all that at UCLA. I'm not convinced of that, but let's just be real. There's always a possibility of that happening no matter what team you pull for, no matter who your head coach is. There's always a possibility somebody's going to get caught doing something they shouldn't do. You have to think that the NCAA is going to be keeping an eye on UCLA given Chip Kelly's history at Oregon. So 50% is about the odds I would give that of happening. Now, let's talk about the chances of UCLA winning the Pac-12 title. They just lost one of the best quarterbacks they've ever had in Josh Rosen. Now, I was not a fan of this guy personally. I think he's a crybaby, a tree-hugging snowflake, a mama's boy. This guy's been spoon-fed since the moment he was born. I think he's in for a rude awakening in the NFL. But anyway, I've been down that road. You can look up, do a search for Uncle Lou, Josh Rosen, or if I can remember, I'll put a link up somewhere up here, and you can try to check it out. So, truth in advertising here, I'm not a fan of Josh Rosen, but he was one of the best quarterbacks UCLA has had. He's gone. You lose some wide receivers, you lose some key pieces on defense. Now, what'd you do last year with Josh Rosen? 6-7. Nothing very impressive, to be honest. UCLA, in all honesty, not a very good team right now. You lose a bowl game to Kansas State, same Kansas State team that lost to Vanderbilt. That Vanderbilt. So it's not like Chip Kelly is inheriting a team that's loaded with talent. On top of that, to make matters worse, Chip Kelly runs a very specific style of offense, right? I mean, you have to assume he's going to try to do at UCLA what he did at Oregon, which is bring in small, undersized, fast guys at almost every position on the field and try to run 95, 100 plays a game. You have to assume that's what he's going for. You need a certain type of player to be able to do that. You can forget about your 320, 330-pound offensive lineman. You're not getting that. If you go back and look at Chip Kelly when he was at Oregon, he had 270, 280-pound linemen. 330-pound linemen are not running 100 plays a game. A 330-pound lineman is not pancaking a defensive tackle, then jumping up and running 30 yards downfield to snap the ball again 6 seconds later. It's not happening. So it's going to take some time even for Chip Kelly to get his type of player at UCLA in order to be able to even run the kind of system that he wants to run. That's problem number one. Problem number two for UCLA and Chip Kelly. When this was working at Oregon, and I've talked about this before, I talked about this a lot when it looked like either Tennessee or Florida was going to try to get Chip Kelly, and I was hoping that they did, and this is the reason why I wasn't afraid of Chip Kelly coming to Tennessee or Florida. I'm going to reiterate this point now. When Chip Kelly had all his success at Oregon 10 years ago, whenever it was, and by all his success, I mean a couple of Pac-12 titles. That's all he had. When he had that success, what he was doing at that particular time at Oregon was new. Yes, teams had ran hurry-up offenses in the past. Yes, teams had spread you out. Yes, teams had running quarterbacks prior to Chip Kelly's stint at Oregon. But nobody did what Chip Kelly did at Oregon as fast as he did it. There are other teams now that have tried to copy that or at least implement part of that Chip Kelly system into their existing game plan or offense, but nobody had done anything like that prior to Chip Kelly getting at Oregon. Caught a lot of teams off guard, ran a lot of teams off the field in the Pac-12, won a lot of games, 50-30. I mean, they were scoring points left and right. You remember these days, they would score a touchdown, their first possession of the game, 45 seconds into the game or whatever, they'd score a touchdown. They'd go for two, like rubbing it in type stuff. But they did score a ton of points, sneaking up on average to below average Pac-12 teams. You have to remember this was after Southern Cal had their run of dominance in the mid 2000s. The Pac-12 sort of took a step down when Pete Carroll left Southern Cal, and then a few years later, Chip Kelly comes into Oregon, and they start dominating the Pac-12. That was a period of time when the Pac-12 was a mediocre at best conference. I would argue it's remained that way since then. But yes, he dominated the Pac-12 with that offense. Can he do it again at UCLA? Maybe. Now, I don't think he's going to sneak up on a lot of people. No one's going to be surprised. Every head coach, every team in the Pac-12, every team on UCLA's schedule knows exactly what it is that Chip Kelly is looking to do there. Okay? It's not going to be a secret. It's not going to be a surprise. And teams now have 10 years worth of experience of, if not playing against that style of offense, then at least 10 years worth of film to look at on that style of offense. Not just from Oregon at Chip Kelly, Oregon with Chip Kelly, but these other teams around the country who have tried to run a similar style offense, or at least implement part of that offense into their existing game plan. So I think it's going to be a lot harder for him to dominate the Pac-12 at UCLA than it was for him to dominate the Pac-12 at Oregon 8, 9, 10 years ago. And there's not very much talent on this team, and it's going to take at least 2 or 3 years, 2 or 3 recruiting cycles to get the players in there that he wants. So the answer to the question, can they win the Pac-12? Not this year, not next year, and not the year after. I don't see any way possible UCLA wins the Pac-12 in the next 3 years. They're a 500 team. They lose the best quarterback they ever had. You bring in not only a new head coach, but a new head coach who's completely changing the system. Josh Rosen was a pocket passer. Chip Kelly's not interested in that. Think of Marcus Mariota. That's who he's looking for. He's got to find that guy. He's got to get the right kind of linemen. He's got to get receivers. Defensively, who knows? That's not Chip Kelly's area of expertise, so we'll see how UCLA handles the defensive side. But again, a UCLA defense is going to spend a lot of time on the field because UCLA possessions are going to be very quick and very short, whether they're 3 and outs or whether they're 5-play touchdown drives. You look at Oregon, their average touchdown drive is, 45, 50 seconds, something like that. That's what Chip Kelly goes for. That wears on a defense. So again, defensive linemen, things like that, you tend to have smaller players that can go for longer periods of time. We'll see. Now, that hurt Chip Kelly at Oregon when he had to play teams with real offensive lines. If you look at the 2 times Oregon played an elite SEC team in the postseason, or once in the postseason, once in a national title game and once in the regular season, LSU and Auburn, he lost both of those games, barely scored 20 points in both those games. Something like that could happen again if you run into a team that can dominate in the trenches, which is what happened when Oregon played LSU and Auburn. So, odds that Chip Kelly can win the Pac-12 title at the UCLA. We already put the odds of probation at 50%. So, in terms of answering the question, which is more likely, we got to give a percentage to this here about Chip Kelly winning a Pac-12 title at UCLA. This year, 5%. Next year, 10%. The year after, I'll bump it up to 25%. He'll have a few recruiting classes in by that point. After that, 49%. I'll say 49 because I think it's more likely they end up on probation than it is they end up winning a Pac-12 title. I just don't see it happening. Tell me down below why I'm wrong. Are you a fan of this hire? Whether you're a UCLA fan or not, do you think this is going to work at UCLA, the Chip Kelly system? If you do, how long before UCLA starts winning meaningful games? How long before they start winning? Forget winning the Pac-12. How long before they win 10 games a year? When can they go 9-3, 10-2? Like I said, they're a 500 team right now, finishing 6-6 in the regular season last year before taking a beating in the bowl game to Kansas State, finishing 6-7. Yes, I know Josh Rosen didn't play in the bowl game. Breaking news.
He's not playing any games this year.
So let me know, what's more likely, probation or a Pac-12 title? If you're going to choose Pac-12 title, tell me when that is. Is it this year? Is it next year? Is it 5 years down the road? What is it? Let me know. Subscribe if you're not already. Thumbs up this video. 4 more Pac-12 videos coming this week. 5 days, 5 videos, Pac-12 week. Have a great day and an even better morning if you can, also, and 2.
This song is dedicated to my boy, Uncle Lou.
Did you